In this new player guide, I'm going to be talking about spell sets, and I'm going to show you how to set them up, and in addition to that, I'm going to show you how to do hotbar sets also. So first question is, what are spell sets? Spell sets are simply different versions of your spell bar that you can load up with a quick click of the mouse. Now, why would you want that? In some cases, some classes don't need it at all. There's only a few spells that they have, and when you get to level 115 and there's 13 spots here, you may not even need it at all. But if you're a shaman or you're an enchanter, you just may need it. For me, I don't really need it that much because not a lot changes, and maybe that's because there's not a whole lot to do for enchanters at the high level, but that's for another video. Okay, so let's talk about how to do this. So, hypothetical situation. You're out hunting somewhere and you realize the situation has changed. You're going to a different zone and you're going to be fighting different monsters, maybe monsters that require you to have a couple different spells that are in addition to what you have, or maybe spells that you have to use instead of a mez. Let's say, for example, you're going to Nagavin's Lair, you're going to do a fire giant run, and suddenly you realize, well, you know what? I cannot mez anymore, so all these mez spells are just useless right here. But I can use root, and so you know what? You have to change them out each time you do this. Or say you're going on a raid, and you're on a raid and you have to have certain spells up, and yet you have to switch back to rebuff everybody. So for example, you may have a spell bar that has all your buffs for your raid, and then you may have another spell bar that will contain all the buffs you can do for a group. Okay, so for example, spell guard and melee guard. So let's go ahead and build one of these. First things first, this is my generic kind of spell loadout. I have my Tosh, which lowers the magic resistance. This is how I build this. I think first I'm going to debuff them with the magic resist, and then if the mob comes at me, I can go ahead and mez them, and then I can go ahead, and if that doesn't work, I have a really strong mez that will guarantee a mez for me. Then I have an area of effect mez, and I have one at a lower level. You may notice the level, this is a 109, and the reason why I use a 109 is it only goes up to 113, so that means I will never get mezzed in it. But if I'm fighting things my level, I will use a higher level one. Then I have the 2 dots. These are 2 dots I'll use. Then I have 2 nukes. Then I have Voice of Sagacity, which is basically clarity. Then I have a rune, which puts up protective coating around me. And I have Dissonant Reinforcement, which amplifies the spells. And I have haste here. So this is basically what I would do, and I would just buff myself, and that's all I need, doing group content. Now things have changed, and let's say we're going to do something else. Before we do that, let me show you how to do it. You simply go down here, go to this, right click with your mouse and save this, and let's call it something. Let's say basic. And this is just your basic one, or your grouping one. Well, grouping can change. I'll just make it basic. Now, let's change this up. Let's pretend we're going to do a dragon run with Nagafin or something, and we're going to fight fire giants. Okay, as you know, fire giants cannot be mezzed, so let's take off these because that ain't going to do us any good. Okay, instead, if you're on a fire giant run, we're going to still tosh them, but why don't we go ahead and put in something like a root. Now what would be a good root? I would put in Greater Fetter, because Greater Fetter has a -30 resist. As you know, fire giants are belly casters, so I'll have to go in and root them. And this is really important, so I'm thinking I'm going to tosh, I'm going to root, but you know what? Why don't we add one more root in there too? Because if I'm going to charm any of the fire giants, and they can be charmed, they're not the greatest pets, I'm going to load my quick casting, my short range, short duration route, which lasts 48 seconds, but it's still a lot shorter than something here that lasts 3 minutes. And I will put this on the fire giant to root him so that I can go ahead and charm him. So if he breaks charm, I want to cast a root on him, hold him in place. So now that we've got that, let's go ahead and do this. Let's now add a charm spell. And we're going to go like this, and fire giants are low level, but just go ahead and put in whatever I've got. Okay, so this will allow me to tosh, big root, so I can root park the enemy, and then when I want, I can do a short-term root, and then I can go ahead and charm them, and that's going to be pretty good. Then I've got my 2 dots that I can fire at him, and my buffs here. But also, fire giants do one more thing that's pretty bad. Some of them, like fire giant wizards, have a direct damage. So let's go ahead and load a rune, a spell guard, that does direct damage. And it is one of these. I'm not sure which one it is, but we'll load it up. And this one, this is a direct damage rune. It protects me from 86,000. It's more than enough. So now I've got all this set up. I've got my regular things. I got my buffs in my group. And that's time to save this spell set. So we have saved one spell set called Basic. Remember the keystrokes here. Right click this little box here. And then save spell set. Add new set. And then call it this. Fire Giants. Okay, this is going to be Fire Giants. So now we've got something set up for Fire Giants. Okay, so it's just really easy. But let's say we're done with the Fire Giant run and everything was a success. Right click this, load spell set, and hit Basic. Watch it change. Look at this. Now you notice it didn't change this one right here, and that's because this was an open spot right here. So nothing was there. Okay, so see how it changed there? Look at this. It's got this, it's got the Mez. This is a basic one right here. If basic had something different in here, then it would change it. So let's go ahead and add something else in here. And let's put a stun in here. This is something that you would use, a point blank stun in a group level game. Okay, so now we've added one into there. Now let's go ahead and save the spell set. And we're going to save it as basic. And it'll overwrite it. Okay. Go back here, right click, load spell set. Let's go back to Fire Giant. There you go. Look at it. Changes it just like that. Look at how fast this is. Now keep in mind, if you do have a long timer for the spell to get ready, like this one, see the spell guard, it will take a long time. Each time you do this, it's going to have to reload this spell guard thing. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's quickly just switch back to basic. Now what I want to show you is watch the new basic version. Will come up, and there it is. See that? It's got the stun, so the basic one comes back up. And this is a great way instead of having to change it. But you know, a lot of times the game is so casual, I don't really change it, but or maybe I change 1 or 2 spells while I'm buffing, so it's not that big a deal. But if you're in a situation where you have lots of spells, this is great for you. Now let's get on to the next thing. It's called hotbars. What you did here, you can do the same with the hotbars. But how do you get a new hotbar? The way you get a new hotbar, make it turn to an X like this, right click this, and then what you want to go, and you can do, where is that? It's so hard to see here. Window, gosh, I'm going to show you how to make this a little bit bigger. This one here is showing this, open new bar, excuse me. So they got to open a new bar right here. Okay, so you see I already have some spell sets set up. One thing you can also do when you do this here is you can go ahead and change the button size. If you're like me and it's hard to see, or let's just say you have a big monitor, a 4K monitor, and you're viewing this, it's so hard to see these things. So let's change this to about 150%, or 100, let's go a little bigger. 150% is good, okay? Watch that. These are gigantic bars. Look at that. You can see these even if you're half blind, you can see this no problem. I don't really worry because I know which one is which, and you can do it. Now I've created a few spell hotbars right here, and let me go ahead and show you what they are just to save a little bit of time. Load hot button set. Okay, so this is for if you're going to buff your pet. And watch this here. Bing, look at that. Fortified Companion, Companion's Aegis, and Divine Aura. So if you want to know what they are, remember what the key is, right click. And it brings it up and it tells you, this puts something on it. And it's funny how for an enchanter, they give you all these things, you know, that help your little shield and sword pet. And See, this is another one. It makes them stronger, but I'm here to tell you, I would give all of these back if they unnerfed the pet, because these are kind of like things you're never going to use. I hardly ever use these things. You never get a chance to. So anyway, that is an example right there of how that works. Let's go ahead and change it now. Here's another one here. Load hot button set. And this one just has gate on it. So see how this goes? Now the reason why this isn't so popular is because people, what they do is they just make copies of this bar right here, and they keep making them and laying them out on top of each other, so all the bars are left. It's better than going like this, clicking here, clicking there, and getting confused with it. They just make another bar. In fact, on my Berserker, which has a lot of these buttons, 3 rows worth, I just stack the bars on top of each other. Okay, so enough of that. And then what we can do here, we can delete, let's see, close, go window, and then you close. Okay, just like that. So that's your tutorial for spell sets and hotbar sets. And I hope this helps all of you have a better gaming experience, and I hope it helps make your game much more efficient. This will definitely make it very fast, because I've been in many situations where people will go, oh, I don't have that spell loaded, or I don't have this spell loaded, but now you know how to do it. Okay, thanks for watching, and good luck to you.